Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Work Unleashed Live. I'm Dan O'Leary. This is live. It's September 4th, 2020. That's right. It's September. It's pumpkin spice latte season. And you are here for the 10th edition. We've done this 10 times of Work Unleashed Live. So happy you're joining us today. We have a great topic we're going to be digging into over the next half hour or so. Today, we're talking about how customer success is everybody's business. So if you're here, it's your business too. So congratulations. You're going to learn all about the role you have to play in that today. Again, this session is live. So if you're joining us live on LinkedIn or wherever you found us today on the internet, if you could just check in, leave a comment, let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know what you're doing for this holiday weekend. If you're in the US, that would be great. Would love to hear from you. If you're a Box customer or Gainsight customer, check in and say what's up. We are so excited you are here with us today. Again, our topic today is talking a little bit about customer success. If you're an admin, you're going to learn what role you personally can play and how customers can become more successful than ever before, and how this is everyone's business, including your business, especially as an admin. And to help us dig into this topic today, we have two very special guests. We've only had one before, so having two guests, I'm twice excited, as you can tell. I'm also twice as caffeinated. It's going to get fun. To help us talk about this today, two people, let's tell you who they are. From Box, we have Chris Kohler, Chief Marketing Officer, and from Gainsight, one of my favorite companies and favorite people, Nick Mehta is here today on Work Unleashed Live. Welcome, Chris and Nick. Yes.
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
Hey, welcome. As you can tell, how are you guys doing? What is going on?
I love the energy. You might be a couple pumpkin spice lattes ahead of me in the morning in terms of caffeine, but I'm very excited to be here too. Thanks so much.
Yeah, good to be here. Obviously, me too. I drink a lot of coffee, and I'm not sure I can keep up with your energy at this point, Dan, but I will try my best.
Challenge on, guys. Okay, well, for those of you who don't know the radical bromance that you two have, can you share a little bit about That's right. Can you share a little bit about how you two originally got connected, how you met, and how we ended up here today?
Yeah. So, Nick, I think like officially we met for the first time while I was at Adobe, right? And we were a customer and working through from a customer perspective. But I think the first time we met from more like a personal perspective is when our kiddos were doing a camp at Berkeley. Yes, we take our kids to science camp. We have those kind of nerdy dads that go, and I think it was around physics or something like that. But it was over the weekend, and we spent some time together, and obviously have a strong passion for customer success. And I think it started there, but I think that was how long ago that was.
Weren't we building we were building fans or measuring the speed of fans, something like that? There was some kind of experiment that we were doing, and we definitely enjoyed nerding out about science and stuff like that, and about customer success.
Yeah, for sure.
So speaking of customer success, Nick, as a published author and leader in the customer success space, there's a new book that you have out, The Customer Success Economy: Why Every Aspect of Your Business Model Needs a Paradigm Shift. I mean, this is going to be my weekend reading. Can you tell us a little bit about what you wrote about in a nutshell, and how you decided to write a follow-up to some of your past successful books on this topic?
Yeah, well, and what a convenience that I have the book right here, so I can oh my gosh, what that was just random, huh? By the way, I have to explain something up front, which you'll see in the video, which is I do have some very colorful nails today because my 8-year-old took me to her little spa in our house, and she painted my nails. So that is that's my proof of this being live, and also work from home. So customer success economy, we called it the customer success economy because we believe that customer success as a concept has grown up a lot in the last 8 years that we've been doing Gainsight, the last decade that kind of the field's been around, the last time, kind of the years that Chris has been involved as well. And it's grown up such that it required kind of, I think, new thinking. So we wrote a book several years ago called Customer Success, which kind of became one of the authoritative top books on the topic. But a lot has evolved. It really in 3 ways. Number one is that a lot of the questions around what's the best practice don't have like one answer, but they've got a family of answers, right? So as an example, who should own the renewal for a customer? What's the job of a customer success manager? There's not just one answer, but there's a set of kind of valid answers. And so we give a framework for how to think about that. Number two, customer success, as Chris and I will talk about, isn't just about one department. It's not just about the CSM team. They're kind of the tip of the spear, but it's about sales. It's about marketing, as Chris can attest. It's about product. It's about finance. It's about the admins at the customer. We'll get to that later. And it's about all those folks working together to drive success. And then number three, it's not just a tech thing anymore. So some folks watching might be in manufacturing, might be in healthcare, might be in education. Customer success is showing up in pretty much every industry. So we've called it customer success economy because it really is reshaping the way we all do business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm, as a customer, that obviously is great news. And Chris, you had a role to play in this book as well. I understand that Nick was nice enough to get you to write a chapter. My friends, if you guys are watching, guys, where's my chapter in my book? Chris, can you talk a little bit about the chapter that you contributed to? What were you excited to talk about in the book?
Yeah, Nick must have been desperate just trying to find people for this book, so he asked me to do it. But no, I mean, I think I've got a unique perspective as I've held different roles over the years, whether that is actually running a customer success organization, running a renewals organization. I've run product, I've been in sales, and now obviously from a marketing lens. And I thought it was important to note, and part of what we contributed to the book was really what is marketing's role in helping drive customer success? And I think there's been this sort of traditional practice within marketing, not every organization, but a lot of marketing organizations, where they do think about sort of what's the brand, what's the awareness, how do I get stuff into top of the funnel? In reality, what from my lens, because I sat on the other side of the house as I was trying to help our customers be successful, and you have this flywheel of adoption, which leads to more sales, to growth, and all that. Marketing typically didn't play a big role in this. And, as I took over the CMO role, that was one of the big things at Box that I felt really, really passionate about, is helping our customers be successful across this entire journey. And so we have a role to play in really partnering with the CS team, partnering with the product team, partnering with the sales team, really to use our expertise to really engage customers in a very different way. And so that's what my contribution to this was really from a marketing lens. How should sort of I describe it, the next generation of marketers be thinking about that entirety of the customer lifecycle? It's not just from sort of consideration to close deal. It is the entirety of adoption, and you get the flywheel effect from a growth and a renewals perspective.
And one thing I'll build on that, Dan, is just, for people that don't know as much about the history of customer success, what Chris just described is, I think, this broader evolution happening, which is, the old world, when you sold customers products that they bought and they owned, and that was the end of the relationship, right? In that old world, companies said, okay, we got to get new customers. So marketing was about new leads, and sales was about closing deals. And you might have a customer support function, but that was sometimes just a cost center. Honestly, a lot of companies want to get the customers off the phone as quickly as possible, right? And outsource that or automate it away. And in this new world where you have these subscription recurring relationships, that customer relationship doesn't go away, it just keeps going. Every department is saying, how do I kind of look at that whole life cycle? And marketing, I think, is such a critical part of that.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. Such a great point. And I think, marketing has a role to play. And Chris, as you mentioned, you've worn many hats as the head of marketing now. Previously, we're running Box's customer success org. Any insights to share on your experience in that role, and now how that impacts now what you do as leading marketing? And has your philosophy changed at all relative to the customer experience or customer success as you've taken a different look at the overall customer journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it informed a lot of, in my opinion, getting to know a lot of the use cases of what customers were trying to do, where they were challenged with. One of the big things that I think customers in a SaaS world really, really struggle with, and admins in particular, is just trying to keep up with the level of innovation that all of these companies continue to deliver. And so in a sort of SaaS world, we're constantly delivering new capabilities and the product is evolving. In the old world, where you had major releases once a year, then that's easy to consume the new capabilities. But what's become apparent is there's almost this new idea of almost product capabilities awareness. that we've got to be thinking out, how do I educate our customer base around all the great innovation that they just have as part of their subscription today? As the product teams, continue to create new capabilities, the usage is critical of that. And so one of the big things that we think a lot about at Box is, how do I get that message into the hands of our customers so they can actually get value out of it? And one of the biggest conversations I had when I was in CS is these dreaded words is, wow, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Which happens all the time. Like, oh, I didn't know Box could do that. We could do that. We have that. And you're like, oh no, right? And it becomes that problem of how do you drive retention into our base and making sure that there's the right value outcomes here. Well, they actually have to know about the capabilities, and that's something that I think as an organization, we've typically relied on the CS team. Hey, go educate your customers on all this stuff. And it's not like, but that's not CS's core competency, right? And marketing can help from a messaging perspective, from a reach perspective, and allow both the CS and sales teams from a scale. So a lot of work on our end to try to figure out how do we get that message and educate our base of customers with what the art of the possible is.
One other thing I'd say, Chris, on that I'm seeing across companies is just that because marketing is getting more involved, they're bringing these skill sets that marketers have. Right? Marketers have skill sets like, for example, doing scalable things like events and email campaigns and webinars and all that, and also bringing messaging, because at the end of the day, like, the altitude is important. I think for a lot of admins and customers, they don't necessarily care about every bullet point in every release note, right? I mean, some of them do. As vendors, we're like, oh my God, look at this new feature, right? And I think for a lot of admins or customers, they're like, the feature itself is interesting, but like what's really interesting is the use case you're going to help me solve. And I think a lot of marketers are really good at up-leveling things and taking things from very tactical to being a little bit more in the eyes of the buyer. So I think there's a lot of value marketers add to this.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've been talking a lot internally is, you traditionally measure success of these events as how much pipeline did you sort of move along in the funnel. And in reality, what is just as important is, do we have existing customers with their ARR, their total account value, like, in that discussion as well? Like, it's just as important to cultivate that relationship with existing customer, because guess what? For us, a huge majority of that growth is going to come from our existing base. And so there's mentality shifts, there's KPIs you have to think about differently as a marketing organization that you traditionally may not have.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that we see a lot of is that, which I know your team's all over, is that when you're marketing to those I put in quotes because it's not the same marketing to those existing customers, you're driving adoption, you're getting them to expand, you're getting them to stay, getting them more value. Those people are also human beings that will go on to other companies at some point, and you're building relationships. And I'm sure some of the folks watching are big kind of Box advocates, and maybe they've gone into new companies and brought you in and things like that. So.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we've got to, continue to focus on advocacy. And, if you start to think about the most successful companies are those that have really featured in a customer-centric way the heroes across their organization. And that's definitely a huge trend from a marketing perspective, of really highlighting the amazing customers that we have and making sure that it's about them and their value versus about the product.
Awesome.
Great points, guys. And I can tell you, as you mentioned, a great customer experience and making that person feel like a hero really does create repeat business. Having been a multiple-time customer of Box and Gainsight, and having brought both those products to new companies in the past, I can tell you how true that is. So I'm living proof of that. And I think, as you mentioned, there's the customer experience, and of course, I think maybe one of the stars of the show, of course, is the admins who, as you mentioned, have a need to hear the stories and to understand the value they're going to get from the product, but also to be enabled to bring the innovations, to bring those new features, to bring those new products to their teams. And I'm curious for both of you guys, as you think about customer success overall, how are you helping the admins of Box, of Gainsight, of the other tools in the stack become champions within the organization to actually make sure end users and folks actually get the value that we promised them?
You want me to jump first? Yeah. So we're doing, Dan, we're spending a lot of time on this right now, and internally in thinking through a bunch of different ways. And I think what I described before is we often relied on the CS team to help with this journey and getting people up to speed and helping them with change management. And that is that works but you're going to run into scale problems. And so how can we leverage technology really to help these admins in a way? So whether that is making sure their onboarding experience as as seamless and easy as possible, and they have the information they need at their fingertips, but also working with them to partner on what does that end user experience look like? How from a product perspective, can we make that as simple as possible? Because I think one of the biggest challenges we have is just humans are creatures of habit. And so they get into these routines and they do the same thing, year over year around how I engage with a customer or how I roll out new technology or those sort of things. So it's really, really important from a change management perspective, to support them on that journey. And there's different flavors of that. It can be a consulting engagement to help them work through, very complex onboarding of whatever that technology is. But also at the same time, we're doing things like gamifying, so that it makes it super simple and easy and actually kind of fun to move along that sort of admin experience. And so, and then a lot of push around just making more content available. Because I think often we push out things around how to do things, but not why. And so that's one of the things that we're thinking a lot about. If I'm sitting in an admin seat, it's like, great, I know how to do this, but why am I doing this? And what's the benefit my users are going to get out of that? How can I sell that to them that this is really valuable for them? And so I think that's, some things that we're thinking about constantly.
And across, all of our customers and all kind of software companies, we see this huge kind of value chain. You think about it, at the end of the day, there's people that build products, right? So the great engineers and product managers at Box. And then there's this sort of team that's working with the customer. So in your case, you have your CSMs and your salespeople and your support people and so on. And then marketing helping as kind of an air cover. And then you've got the customer, right? It's probably some of the people watching. And you've got these, admins at customers who are kind of taking this new stuff in. And then you got the end users. And there is this value chain. And I don't think customer success is possible without the admins being successful, without the admins driving that. And the way I think about it in a lot of software is that business users sit there and they don't think about Box or Gainsight. They think about their problems they've got. We have a new product we want to launch. We've got a marketing event we're doing. We've got a training we've got to do. And they go look to their admins inside their company and they say, hey, I got this new thing. How should we do it? And the admin being successful, being enabled, being aware of the new features in Box, the new capabilities, et cetera, is what you kind of complete that last mile of like a vendor's product actually driving business value.
It's a great point, Nick. And to build on that, your perspective on customer success, I think, is so valuable, not just because you both have contributed to writing books about this, but because I think as you noted earlier, you see this across so many different types of companies, not just software companies. And obviously that admin has such an important role to play. Nick, can you share any additional insights on what you're seeing, Gainsight admins do in particular, what other technology companies, Box or otherwise, could emulate? Any best practices you can share with our audience?
Well, we our admins are definitely like, when you like look at like, okay, how successful is a Gainsight customer, and you take the ones that are very not using it well and using it very well, and you kind of plotted them on a spectrum, and you said, what's the difference? And you said, well, is it because they're bigger companies, or because they're more revenue, or is it because they are in certain industries? And the only factor that makes a difference is the admin. That is it. Are they enabled, or do they have the right resources from their company in terms of time to be able to put into it? Do they have the passion for it? That is the determining factor of success. I would argue for most software is a passionate person. An admin might not even be the right term, but a passionate person who wants to learn this technology and translate it to business value. So for our business, it's clearly the main thing. And what does that mean? Well, for us, it means creating great community where they can meet each other. So we have online community. I think Box has similar. We do different events for them, not just events for the executives, but events for the admins. Obviously getting really tight loops with our product teams and the admins, and showing them that we're listening to them, and what features we've released. And by the way, we always need to do more. So we've never listened to them enough. We can always do more on that. And then, in our world, kind of thinking about admin success as a parallel thing to the success of the end users or business people. So not that it's not like all just one thing, because how do you make the admin successful? Well, there's slightly different things you do. For example, giving them more controls over how the system works, letting them try things out before they get rolled out to the end users, letting them control some of the communications. And there's sometimes some tension. Gainsight would love to have all the end users know about a new feature. And sometimes admins want to check that out first and be able to understand it so they can answer the questions. And that's a healthy balance, by the way. There's not a good answer there, but you have to have that discussion. So for example, we have a VP of customer experience, and his main project this year has been meeting with admins and hearing their stories and sharing them with our executive team and talking about what's great about Gainsight, what's hard about Gainsight, things like that.
I love that, Chris. I'd love for you to respond to that too from your point of view.
And I think to build upon what Nick had said, I think we also have to help inspire them with what the art of the possible is as well, right? And from a best practices perspective, because I think there's a lot of assumptions that we make that people know best practices of how to utilize and engage with end users and work through that. And so one of the things that, again, a good opportunity from a partnership perspective with CS is helping our customers with the art of the possible. What are those high value use cases that is actually going to drive the business value out of their purchase, regardless of what software it is, whether it's Gainsight or Box or anything. People are trying to solve business problems with this. And if you've got high adoption, but there's not really the value associated with it, that's problematic. And so how are we helping them drive business outcomes with that? And I think whether it's an admin or a champion within an organization, they can sometimes be the same, sometimes they're not. But we've got to help them with that and making sure they understand that we're doing high value use cases with them.
Yeah, it's so important. Finding problems worth solving is sometimes one of the hardest parts of using technology. We're solutions looking for problems. So it's really insightful. And I'd like to build on that a little bit more, guys. Obviously, I think, the role of an admin is so important, as you mentioned, to business value, to the end user experience, to the rollout of new features, to the adoption, and ultimately ROI these technologies. But not everyone has admins as strong champions, and they miss some of those pieces. So let's talk about what happens briefly if you don't have that. If an organization is we are here to just keep the lights on, end users do it, admins really aren't involved, they're not trying to get those business outcomes, what happens? What do they miss out on?
I can share a little bit on our end. What I see across customers is that you basically, for most software, things get frozen in time, and then the software becomes less relevant to the business. Because what happens is businesses change. They do. We have new years and strategies. We have COVID. We have all these things that happen, right, just in the world. And so businesses aren't static. And as those businesses evolve, new people come in, new stakeholders, great software deployments evolve to the business. They get reconfigured, they get repositioned, they get redeployed. The software itself changes and there's new features and you're using those new features or you're not. And what I find is it's like with software without an admin, it's just like going to a history museum. It's like, oh, wow. So that software is deployed just like it was 5 years ago. And by the way, the software company is trying to change that because they're evolving it. But lots of times without the admin support, that last mile, it's just stuck in time. It's frozen in wax. And then it becomes less relevant for the company. And we've all experienced, I think, software like that in our own lives where we're in a company and we're using software and it's gosh, this isn't really set up for what we're doing. Sometimes it's because the software is wrong. Lots of times it's because there was no admin evolving it with the needs of the business.
Yeah, I love that analogy that you're going to a history museum. And I think any software implementation is a living organic organism, right? That needs constant care and feed. And I think sometimes it's, we've had this notion of one and done. I've set it up, it's good to go, put it on autopilot, and then I move on to the next thing. And reality is you need to have continuous feeding and tweaking and adjusting to get the value out of it. And if you don't, then it becomes the relic in the museum for sure.
And that's the misnomer I think people had with the cloud is they thought that, okay, cloud, great. We don't need any IT. We don't need any admins, right? And I think we're all learning that that's just not true. You don't have people that have to manage servers anymore. That's cool, right? You don't have people that to update the software and do the security patching. Companies like Box take care of all that for you. But you still need to make sure you're getting value out of it. That's never going to go away.
Great point, Nick. Oh man, now I'm just thinking of going to a software museum.
We should build one. That'd be the next one. Yeah.
Hopefully there should be one also for admin heroes and strong end user adoption. So we can work on that as a project next. All right. So as we wrap up, guys, also, by the way, for Work Unleashed Live guests and attendees today, we are live. So if you have a comment, you have a question, you want to let us know who you think has the best beard on the call, just do that right now. So before we go to closing thought, I'm curious for you two guys in particular, what's next for you? Is it another reunion at Science Camp? Are you going to start a Hall & Oates cover band? What's on the docket for you guys?
I don't know. I'm a little jealous of the carpool karaoke with Aaron. I think I'm much more engaging than that guy. Definitely more funny, much more funnier than that guy. But I don't know.
Yeah. Mine would be actually, I'm going to ping Chris after, because I think there is more opportunity to like evolve our software to meet the needs of like customer marketing and stuff. So I'm going to ping you and brainstorm. That's what's next from my end. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important topic around this notion of customer marketing and like where does that live, and who roles and responsibilities, and who's, how do you start to think through the flighting of how you engage with customers and which message and all that. So I actually think this notion of customer marketing is an evolving topic area that is not clear, and I think will be a big opportunity moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. And that is how ultimately we're going to make customer success everyone's business. When everyone in the company and every executive cares about it. I think you guys are great examples of this. So this is great. Any closing thoughts for everyone? Any wise words, not as wise words, anything you want to share?
I would just say, if you're out there in your organization, I think that one of the big keys for our success internally at Box is that we have aligned metrics and KPIs. And so whether that's across the CS team, the sales team, the product team, together, we've got joint goals and we're driving this together. And so there isn't this notion of silos in the organization where I'm optimizing something that sales doesn't care about or CS doesn't care about. And so I think that's one of the things in your organization. If you don't have shared KPIs, then you should challenge that notion for sure. And mine would be that I think building on that kind of notion of this sort of changing what the KPIs are, I think whether you're watching as a CSM, customer success manager, or you're an admin, I think these jobs are just becoming much more important, as we've talked about, right? In the old world where you market and sell, and then the customers kind of bought the software and that's it. Those jobs sometimes companies just didn't get the limelight. Customer support, the administrator of the product. In this new world, I think people realize that if you don't have that partnership and those two strong roles in the company, all the great stuff in sales and marketing and your executives, it's just not going to amount to anything. So I think your jobs are only becoming more important.
Yeah, I'd agree. Without admins, without people making this happen, nothing happens. So that's great, Nick. I appreciate that. To both of you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome. You're invited back. We can do this again. One last plug. If you're out there, join us for BoxWorks, September 17th, boxworks.box.com. I think it's in the comments. Come check out what we're it's going to be a great show. Magic Johnson and a ton of others. So please register and join us. And Magic, I can attest, Magic is amazing. We interviewed him for an event recently. You can't miss that guy. It's just so amazing. It'll be magical, I think. And Nick, we'll talk about your book here in a second. I can't wait to have it just promptly displayed on my shelf here, and I'll read it too. So you'll now. I don't have a lot of people that I have multiple books that they've written in my home, so you will soon have that. I'm like the Daniel Steele of customer success. So. Yes, you are. Oh boy, that happened. All right. Thank you both. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys are invited back for the 100th episode or sooner, so you can come back anytime. Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Dan. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Nick. Okay, Brian, can we zoom out here? There we go. All right. So this has been the 10th episode of Work Unleashed Live, talking all about customer success, how it's everybody's business. And as noted, coming up September 17th, BoxWorks. It's totally free like a free burrito. That's right. Because if someone promises you a free burrito, kind of know what you're expecting, right? So as mentioned, we have Irvin Magic Johnson as a guest speaker, incredible lineup of customers, Box admins, speakers, partners, and more. This will be my 10th BoxWorks. Super excited about this. And good news, you don't have to get on an airplane. You don't really have to even get out of your pajamas. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a glass of rosé, depending on where you're joining us in the world. That's up to you. And bring your kids. I hear that they love online learning, and what's more fun than BoxWorks? They can see what y'all do today. So that's going to be great. We'll see you on the 17th. And we were talking about Nick's amazing new book on customer success. Check this out. The Customer Success Economy. That's the one. It's not just about the whole economy, the customer success economy. Nick Mehta, Allison Pickens, co-authors. Got a chapter in there by Chris. I think you're going to love it. You're going to learn why every aspect of your business model needs a paradigm shift. Super awesome. Really excited to read this myself. And you can scan, if you want to put your phone up to the monitor, you can scan that QR code. That'll take you right to buy it. So simple. You can find it on Amazon or wherever your favorite customer success books are sold. Probably definitely want to scan that QR code and pick it up. This is like, seriously, this is probably the best $20 you'll spend all day. It's certainly all weekend. Highly recommend this. Some of the best thinking you can find on this topic, something that's really near and dear to my heart and very passionate about. So please pick that up. So glad to have Nick here today representing the Gainsight team. So awesome. Okay. Well, I've been Dan O'Leary. You've been you. This has been Work Unleashed Live. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you were here with us live today. And that's so cool. I hope you enjoyed this session. You can find out a lot more about how Box is helping customers and companies just like you power remote work in these fun times. If you go to box.com/remote, BoxWorks, that's boxworks.box.com. And then you can find Nick's book on the customer success economy on Amazon or wherever fine customer success books are sold. And on that note, hope you all have a great holiday weekend. Thank you so much for joining us today on Work Unleashed Live. See you soon.